It's 29 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo, marking it 29 degrees in Lagos as well. And today is the 10th day in the month of April. It's a Friday morning, so you're welcome. And that issue, it's like, first of all, you know, while we were talking yesterday, Maupe, about the fact that the president didn't come out in Lagos. The information given to us was that the president was receiving security briefings and all of that. Could this Borno occurrence have been one of such?
Well, Ayo, it is unclear if that's what prevented the president from coming out to commission the project as had earlier been announced or expected of the people. But yesterday certainly was another very sad reminder that Nigeria is still at war, that our front lines are still very much alive, and that there are people who are fighting to keep us safe. Yesterday there was a very gruesome attack on an outpost, a military command outpost in Beni Sheikh, a community located in Kaga local government area. And in that attack, even though we're yet to be officially informed, we're hearing that about 17 soldiers, including the commander and his second in command. The commander is Brigadier General Oseni Brima, lost his life in that particular attack, as well as many other soldiers who also lost their lives in that particular attack. We also understand that many were left injured. We do not have clarity yet as to how that attack happened. We thought it was repelled and it was a counter-attack. We're still getting the details. But I think that this is where we also need clarity, because yes, right now as a country, we should mourn. If we're not in mourning, we ought to be mourning. The president released a statement yesterday, calling the people who died our heroes, and rightly so. They are indeed our heroes. But Nigerians want to know, they want to be able to celebrate their heroes alive. They want them back from the war front. So we need to ask critical questions of ourselves and need to hold ourselves a little more accountable. We need clarity on what precisely the state of the war is in the northeast. Are we making headway? Are we really surmounting the insurgents? How is it that every time we make progress, how is it that every time we have taken back territory, these people seem to be coming back even stronger? Certainly they cannot overrun our military, and by God's grace, they can never overrun this country. However, it's not going to be just by prayers. We need to confront what is currently ailing us with clarity, with honesty, and with accountability. Ayo.
There are, you couldn't have been better put, Maupe. But as we all know, what we are witnessing is not just another isolated attack. It's unfortunate, and it always looks like some kind of troubling pattern that demands more than routine responses and familiar headlines. This person has died, this list of persons has died, another. Now, each time we hear that an attack has been repelled, yet lives have been lost, we should be asking hard questions. How are these breaches still happening? Because at this point, the issue is no longer about bravery. Our soldiers have proven their courage time and again. The issue is about gaps. Gaps in intelligence, gaps in coordination, gaps in anticipation. And I've always expressed my confidence in the Nigerian security apparatus, be it state, local, or federal. But why are these things still happening? There's also a deeper concern. These attacks appear increasingly deliberate, almost methodical. They test our defenses, probe our weaknesses, perhaps more importantly, shape public perception. And I always worry because, and I've said this a few times, and someone needs to prove me wrong. Why do these things seem to happen mostly during pre-election years? In pre-election years, we don't hear of these attacks. not as significantly. And then maybe another 1-2 years after, almost radio silence, and then there is a resurgence. The question is why? What is happening? And then how about all that information given to us by previous governors, in the north in particular, that we know the people behind these things, and then they still happen? So the question is why? Now we are talking about an attack on the military formation, killing a general. And now these are not just numbers. These are people who have practically, literally sold their lives into the unity of this nation. And as the president said, they are unforgettable and irreplaceable. The question is, what do we do now? It's becoming tiresome, Mark, having to talk about the death of avoidable deaths, I dare say, of innocent Nigerians. And we mourn. There's no doubt about it. We mourn. We're deeply saddened by this. Not just because, I mean, as some people will say, the military officials, they've signed their death warrant the moment they decided to join the army, but must they die? In the defense of their fatherland, must they die? That's my take, Mark.
Well, Ayo, quite a lot for us to reel on. We can only pray that the souls of the deceased rest in peace, and that their efforts, the efforts of our heroes, past and present, will never be in vain. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be going over to politics. As you do know, this is a political year. So on this program, we certainly will be talking politics a lot, but certainly drawing the dots to how it concerns governance and how it concerns the quality of life that the average Nigerian citizens live. In just a moment, please stay with us.
We begin, as Markwe has said, with politics, and following the resignation of the deputy governor of Kano State, a good number of things have been happening, and it would sound like already the state is looking for a deputy governor, among a number of other issues I would like to raise this morning with Kabiru Dakata, who is the DG, Kano State Signage and Advertisement Agency. He joins us, of course, from our Kano studio. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
There are a good number of people who will say that Kano right now is kind of, maybe you want to first of all give us an idea, what's the political temperature in Kano? There are those who are touting the Kwankwasia movement's influence as opposed to Governor Abba, who has just joined the APC, and this whole resignation of the deputy governor. What exactly is happening? Give us a picture.
So all is well in Kano, especially with the leadership style of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf. As you know, Governor Abba Yusuf represents a new pace of governance in the state. He is people-focused and policy-driven leader whose concern is the development of the state. So the decision he has taken to move to the APC was the right decision, because he proved himself to be a proactive leader. He could have, he had seen the danger, the political danger that was facing us at that time when we were in the NNPP. And it was evidently clear that NNPP was not a political party a politician can, relaxed in. And he, led us into the APC. And that decision itself was, would have been done with other members we left in the NNPP. But sadly, they refused to follow His Excellency. And unfortunately for them, they ended up leaving the party and also citing similar reasons we cited when we left the NNPP. And I think it's a sad one for them, because they are now confused moving into a party that has factions, that is the ADC. Look at just recently what the factional leader said about the leader of the NNPP Konkosia, that's Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso. He said Rabi Musa Konkoso is not even a member of his ADC. So it's a sad one for them, and for us, it's a moment of relief because our leader is now focused, is the leader.
If I can quickly ask you, Mr. Dakata, I sincerely apologize for butting in. The governor came into power on the platform of the NNPP. Was it not a danger at the time? Since you say, you know, he foresaw danger, that's why he decided to jump ship away from that political party that gave him a platform. There are those who would wonder, would he ever have become governor if he had stayed on the platform of the APC at the time?
Yeah, of course, he became the governor of Kano State under the platform of the original NNPP, the one that has a basket as its logo, basket of fruits. But later, attempt was made to change the logo, you know, against the wish of the owners, real owners of the NNPP, and that made them to, you know, went to court. And the legal issue made us to realize that NNPP has become something because the original owners of the NNPP were not happy with the, you know, change of logo. And we realized that we need to leave the party, and eventually we left the party.
Okay. And now the deputy governor resigned. What exactly was the issue? And we are hearing it's like that he's under some kind of pressure. You want to give some perspectives on that?
No. I think we don't have to waste much time about his resignation. He has resigned. He's a you know...
was he pressured to resign?
Politician. No, nobody pressured him. All I can tell you is there was an investigation by the State Assembly, you know, and immediately he thought for him to be embarrassed because if those things were investigated, probably they could have led to something. So he honorably resigned. And I think what is most important at the moment is where we are heading to at the moment in Kano State, that is the search of brand new deputy governor. And as you know, this is a strategic decision that will shape the trajectory of the administration. So the office of the deputy governor is a critical office, you know, and that is why the administration is carefully assessing individuals so that to make sure the next deputy governor can deliver the real value to the good people of Kano State, and to ensure that he is going to support His Excellency effectively. So that is what is going at the moment. The Excellency is prioritizing getting it right over getting it wrong, done quickly. So we are assuring you that consultations, wider consultations are ongoing across stakeholders, including political leaders, community voices, and institutional actors to make sure that the right person is selected to be the next deputy governor of Kano State.
Well, if I may come in here, Mr. Dakata, I wanted to ask you about the ticket that the governor currently holds. Some people will say that his ticket is currently in danger, as a matter of fact, endangered, because when he came into office, he came on the same ticket with a deputy governor. As it stands, it is unprecedented, or it was not foreseen, that a governor will be in office this long without having a deputy governor. Doesn't he fear that his seat, as currently is, can be challenged, and he himself could be removed from that seat if this matter goes to court?
No. That will not happen, Maupe, because our constitution envisage a situation like this, because when a sitting deputy governor decided to resign, definitely the Constitution has made a provision of what happened next. The next step is to search for another deputy governor, and I'm assuring you, the governor is being guided carefully by legal experts, and I know within no time the new deputy governor will be announced. Like I said, there's need for thorough assessment to get a competent person who has the required experience that will support His Excellency to continue delivering good dividends of democracy for the good people of Kano State. So I don't see any legal danger in the current situation of Kano State.
Well, you did say that the former deputy governor resigned as a result of the, the investigation that was about to be started by the House of Assembly. But some people will say that, it was as a result of political pressure. And part of what happened was that investigation was instigated because, he's been deputy governor for how long? And there was no allegation against him. But when his principal defected to the APC, then these allegations came up when he refused to join his principal. He's since resigned since the 27th of March, and this is the 10th of April. It's already going to 2 weeks since he resigned. Shouldn't we be worried as to whether or not Governor Abba Yusuf intends to continue? You have said that in no time another deputy governor will be appointed. But some people will say that insufficient time has passed if that position ought to have been filled as soon as possible.
Well, that's why I said His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, Yusuf, is prioritizing getting it right over getting it done quickly. And you can agree with me, inclusive decision-making strengthens legitimacy and long-term governance. So, looking at what happened in the past, don't forget, we're talking of a deputy governor who resigned. So in getting his replacement, careful assessments, and wider consultations need to be made to ensure balance, to ensure somebody that will be loyal to His Excellency, the Executive Governor, loyal to the people of Kano State, loyal to the government of Kano State, not somebody that will be loyal to individuals that are outside the government. That is why careful assessment and wider consultations are going on. Not because, like we are relaxed as we do not have deputy governor at the moment. And I'm assuring you, like I said, within no time, you will definitely hear the announcement of the new deputy governor of the state.
So what is the current situation now with the former deputy governor, Mr. Guazo? Because there were questions as to, you said we're talking about a situation where a deputy governor resigned. Some people will say no, a situation where a deputy governor was forced to resign. Is the House of Assembly still proceeding with the investigation, or has it been called up?
No. Recently, the House of Assembly has announced that they stepped down that issue. They are not going ahead with the investigation. And his political...
Yeah, which buttresses the point that he was simply being pressured to resign. Isn't that correct?
No. I don't think. Maybe the State Assembly has more issues, more better issues. And the issue of investigation, there are other agencies. You have Kano State Public Complaint and Anti-Corruption, which is an anti-corruption agency. They can go ahead with that investigation. The essence of Assembly's own investigation is to, follow a constitutional process of impeaching a deputy governor. And since he resigned, they should focus on more vital issues and allow that particular issue to be handled by other relevant state and federal agencies like Public Complaint and Anti-Corruption and probably ICPC and EFCC.
So given how...
But his political situation is PT situation, because he is even confused. He doesn't even know what where he's heading to, because the position he is eyeing, somebody, is now coming closer to Konkoso, trying to take over that. So I'm sure the former deputy governor is now regretting his action, because the former gubernatorial candidate of the APC is now, regrouping with his own allies, going to see Konkoso, lobbying for the position. You understand? Trying to push the former deputy governor to other side, that maybe he will be the next deputy governor's gubernatorial candidate. A position you left, that is what you are going to search for again. It's a sad one for him. So I think people like us who are advocating for justice should even speak on his behalf, that justice should be done for this man, because if he is not given that ticket, I think history will not, judge the movement of Konkosia in the right light, because this is someone that resigned his position, and in his own, this thing, he's seen somebody that has been earlier abused by Konkoso, saying he has white beard, this and that. Is it not the person we caught trying to steal
Mr. Dakata,
box?
Mr. Dakata.
So it's a pity one for Comrade Amina Abdisalam Gorzo. I don't belong in his party, but I highly sympathize with his political situation.
It is interesting because we understand that the situation in Kano is still very fluid. It's very interesting that you're still wearing the red that the Kwankwansia movement is noted with, even though it's got the Tinubu, the president, Tinubu insignia on it, well, let me just say the insignia now, because there's a dispute as to what exactly the insignia
Maope, don't forget the red symbol is we inherited the red symbol from Malam Amini Kano.
So it has nothing, are you saying that it has nothing to do with the Kwankwansia movement?
No, the red symbol is inherited from Malam Amini Kano, and the infinity sign you are seeing is a directive by His Excellency that all of us should identify with Aswaji Bola Tinubu.
Well, they say the sign is not an infinity, that it is a broken chain. That's exactly why I was very reluctant to say precisely what it was, because the infinity sign is a continuous H written sideways. But according to what we have heard before, that what the president wears on his hat is a broken chain. But I mean, we could continue to speculate or get definitive clarity on what his insignia means. In the meantime, what people are saying is that there is political fluidity in Kano State, and some people have said that, look, the governor did not tell them that he's quarreling with, or he has a quarrel with the former leader of the NNPP, Mr. Rabiu Kwankwanso, and as such, they will still be loyal to Mr. Kwankwanso, and vote for whoever he tells them to vote for in Kano, but that they will still support the president at the national level. So that is what we're currently hearing. I mean, you can always tell us if that is the situation. When you talk about justice, though, some people will say that maybe the person who has done the right thing and stayed loyal is the person who remained within the fold of the NNPP and did not, go away when pressure was high on him. And he could easily have done so, because the benefits, of course, would have been higher, wouldn't they?
I think there is no quarrel between them. Like I stated earlier, we have seen this danger, and His Excellency, called for a solution to that situation. And unfortunately, Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso and some few members did not see the reason why they should follow us to the APC. And later they left the party citing, similar reasons we cited. I thought it's even the point of you journalists going to Konkoso to ask him why he has not apologized to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, when he and other people left the NNPP. I think they should have apologized to His Excellency to say, oh, we have now seen what you have earlier seen, and we are sorry for calling you names when you left the NNPP. And as we said, His Excellency now is making Kano a very critical a key player in national politics. Look at what happened recently, the National Convention of the APC. If you compare it with the National Convention of the NNPP, the one that has taken place before that of APC, you know what happened? It's just an event that took place within just 2-3 hours in one small event center in Abuja.
Okay.
But look at the National Convention of the APC. So Kano is now, you know, occupying a very strategic position in the national politics, unlike before. At that National Convention of the NNPP, Mr.
Dakata,
was the only governor.
We have to go now.
Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf was the only serving governor. Kwankwaso was the only former governor. Senator Payanga was the only senator in that convention. But at the APC's National Convention, look at more than 100 serving and former governors, serving and former ministers, serving and ex-House of Representative members, and also senators. So Kano is now a very strategic and key player in the national politics. And we thank God our leader in Kano State, the leader of the APC, is getting all the cooperation of all APC members and new APC members. And I'm assuring you, in Kano State, His Excellency Abba Kabir Yusuf will be elected as the governor in 2027, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also will be elected by the people of Kano State, because of the dividends of democracy we have started receiving, courtesy of our realignment with the APC.
We'll see how all of this alignment and realignment affects the quality of life and the well-being of the people of Kano, especially as we go into the 2027 elections. We have to thank you for speaking with us this morning. Mr. Kabiru Dakata is the Director General of the Kano State Signage and Advertisement Agency. Thank you once more for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Maupi.
Oh, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we're still going to be talking politics, but this time around in Ogun State. Please stay with us.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Well, that was, quite a conversation we had. And of course, Malkwe is going to be taking on Honorable Bega Isiaka shortly. But, the conversation around politics of Kano State is one thing. The fact that Kano is in the northern, region, the part of Nigeria where we've been having all kinds of security occurrences and that thing altogether. One should just expect that maybe at some point, politics can actually make some sense. But now that we are moving from Kano to Ogun State to talk about this, the president was in Ogun State recently, and the conversations around the governorship, the next governor of Ogun State, Malkwe, is quite hot now, isn't it?
That is hot, as well as the conversation around Nigeria's budget for security. There will be questions as to what exactly is happening in the area of security. Well, this morning we're joined by Honorable Boyega Nasir Isiaka. He's a member of the House of Representatives. He's also representing Yewa North Imekoafon Federal Constituency. He's also the Chairman, House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development. Well, Honorable, it is it's rather somber day for Nigeria, especially as we mourn the gallantry, or we celebrate the gallantry, but we also mourn the passing, the killing of a general and about 17 other soldiers in Borno in an attack that happened yesterday. There have been huge questions as to what precisely is happening on the war front, how it is that are we making progress? Are we really making progress? Because one minute we know the war front is silent, the next minute we hear of this, attacks, and it seems continuous. Just before the president went to London, we saw how there was an attack in Borno. It was suicide bombing. A number of people lost their lives in that attack. We've seen that in Kwara, some soldiers lost their lives while repelling an attack, and we've just seen this. And then yesterday we saw a general. We know what it is like. It's not like I say the soldiers are not important. Of course they are, but we also do know that when they take out the head, it is a very strategic move by the terrorists. For you, who is in the House of Representatives, listening to news like this and also heading the Committee on Economic Planning, I'm sure you must have critical questions in your mind.
Well, thank you very much, and also to the viewers at home. First, let me offer my condolences to the families of all those that lost their lives, quite a while now, particularly this last one. And I join the president in saying that, they are heroes of our development. I mean, yes, we do not want to continue to mourn our heroes, because we will have loved that, they serve the country, protect us, and then leave at the right time to go and meet their families. But this is happening. I offer my condolences to their families and to Mr. President and to Nigerians generally. But definitely, I'm sure that all the tiers of government will not want for this to happen. So for so many times, we have had cause to invite the security architecture to the National Assembly to have discussions on this. And particularly our colleagues from the North, they come with specific instances and examples of what was either happening then and or what has recently happened. And we continue to get assurances, from the security architecture, and then of course recommendations are made, and all of this goes into the policy of government. I think that we can only say that as we go on, I mean, definitely, are we making progress or not? I think we are, maybe slowly, maybe, because again, we also hear casualties and what happens on the other side. But once in a while, they come and, and wreak this havoc, and then they run away. One life lost in this nation, particularly to insurgency. Natural death, yes, we all cannot run away from that. But one life lost to insurgency and all of these attacks is even too much. But I think what I can say at this time, as I offer my condolences, is just to say that we are making progress. We are making progress. We even have a situation where the former defense chief is now the Minister of Defense, now involved in policy making. And we expect that all of this put together should actually continue to give us the progress that we expect. And I believe that we are making that progress. The unfortunate thing is that when any of these things happen, it's become difficult for us to know what will have happened if they have not taken one step or the other. If government has not provided one thing or the other, it becomes difficult for us. Because like I said, even one person died is an issue. So I can only enjoin, while we do what we need to do at our own side, in that legislation, I can only enjoy our security architecture to get together, a bit more, so that I can get better results than we are getting. And I think that intelligence, gathering should also be able to, avoid even some of these things that that come on. So maybe they need to do a lot more work in the area of intelligence gathering so that we can avoid some of these, some of these things. It's really getting, it's really getting. I mean, we had what happened in Plateau the other time, just like 2 weeks or by a week or two ago, and then this one, the whole general. If a whole general is being brought down, I mean, imagine what an ordinary person whose lives government is supposed to be taking care of. I mean, we feel about.
They're really huge questions, Honorable. I don't know why I'm about to call you General, but they're questions to be asked as to, what clarity we're getting, what questions even the House of Representatives is asking. We do know, as you've said, that, military chiefs have been invited over and again, to come and help provide insight. Because clearly, I'm sure that as very much like us ordinary citizens, you also have deep questions to ask. Is it that we're not providing sufficient equipment? Is it that there is not enough coordination? Is it that intelligence is not flowing as it ought to? And I'm sure that some of these, responses would have been given you. But because the truth of the matter is, no serious planning can happen when a country doesn't feel safe. All plans oftentimes will either be overturned. I mean, look at what is happening globally, for instance, with U.S. and Israel on one hand and Iran on the other, and how that is, toppling all the plans that the global economy would have made. And I'm sure, as somebody who is directly involved in economic planning here in Nigeria, What would you say are some of the challenges that a developing country like ours has had to contend with in the process of, trying to make economic plans? We have this 3-year, economic plans, and then we now have a yearly budget, which right now, a lot of people are not even clear which budget are we implementing. Is it the 2026 budget? Are we still in 2025? Because of the kinds of things we hear about the poor releases that were given for capital budget expenditure. So do you want to speak to us about some of the, let's say, the roadblocks that you have noticed as a member of this particular committee and the headwinds we're currently facing?
Well, thank you very much. But just before I go into that, which I will do just 1 or 2 minutes, is to also say, and I think your colleague mentioned it while I was watching the other program, about the timing of some of these attacks, particularly a year to election. I think it's also one of the issues that maybe our security outfits have also mentioned, which we should also look to. Because, again, we should also begin to look at what is the rationale, because some of these things happening just a year to election. So there might be some, remote or unforeseen reasons why some of these things are happening around this time. And I think he put it very well. I just remember that. But on the economic, on the planning, definitely it has a lot of issues. Nigeria has gone through a lot of planning process, even from even before independence. There was the first one, I think 1954 to 1960, thereabout. And then first, second, third, between 1960 and to 1975, there was the first development plan, second, third, and fourth, before we move into the era of the rolling plans of SAP, and then of NEEDS, and then of the Vision 2020, and then of the economic growth and recovery plan of so we've gone through a lot of these. But I think one that happened that is very important is the prospective plan that happened of about 30-year plan of 1921 to 2021 thereabout to 2030. So which is like a much longer plan, because one of the things that have happened more often than not is why some of these plans have not come to fruition is, number one, some of the challenge, some of the plans, some of the projections are quite too optimistic. For instance,
they're too optimistic.
Yes, some of the projections. For instance, the year 2020, for example, projected that we are going to be growing at about 15%, and that we're going to have about $900 billion in GDP. That was the year 2020. Right now, we're on about $300 billion. Of course, as a result of the of the exchange rate and all of that. So we have that. Then no matter how good the plans are, it also has to be, institutions have to deliver it. The strength of the institutions is also some of the things. Then there are also a lot of external factors that we don't have direct control over. You just mentioned one, the US-Israel-Iran war, and the implication of what we are doing. We also have that. And various factors like that. And again, we have 3 tiers of government, all of us working together towards a plan. It's also something. Then changes in government and the impact in the plans. And that is why I'm saying that one major one now that has a lot of impact on is that we have a 30-year plan, that is 21 to I think to 2050. We just had the first one expiring in 2025. That is the 21 to 2050, to 2025. And another one is now being put together. What we are saying as a committee is that as we are going to put this together, which of course is still taking its root from the general perspective plan, which is 21 to 30, is that all stakeholders will come together so that everybody should have impact on it. Plan is not delivered only by government. The private sector has quite a lot of role to play in delivering it. For instance, in the area of revenue, we expect government revenue, and particularly in capital investment. We also expect a lot of foreign direct investment and private investment to go into it.
Have you been pleased with how your party, though, and the government of your party has been coordinated in terms of how they've implemented any plan? It doesn't look like they have been following any plan. It looks like they have been doing things in a rather ad hoc manner.
No, I don't think so. The one I mentioned now, the first time of a 50-year plan, which is meant to be that, look, this is where we're going. Every government that comes, look at within your own 4 or 5 years, do your plan towards a particular plan.
What within that plan would you say your government, this government, has followed?
Within that plan?
Yes.
One of the things that the plan requires is a stable macro and fiscal, regime. This government has given us a stable macro, macroeconomic reforms and regime. One of which is required is that we should have an increase, a similar increase in our revenue. This government has done a lot in the area of tax and putting tax together, our tax regime together, so that we can have an increase in our, in our revenue. One of the things require is that we should take development to the grassroots. The Renew Hope agenda, the development plan that's been put together, and which is going to be one of the things we're going to discuss at the program we have next week, is also looking at projects in each ward, in each of the 8,000 plus wards that we have in the country.
Do we have a way of measuring how this plan works out, even when we try to implement some of the things within it? Do we have a way of measuring the quality of lives of our citizens? We do. The plan has all of that. The important thing is for all of us to be interested in it. A document is prepared. We expect that it's for all of us. There's no way we are going to do a plan that will not have key performance indices. Okay. So those key performance indices are not the things that we're going to be using to for instance, the one they did, the NDP of 2021-23, even has a certain amount of megawatts of power. I think about 7,000. Of course, we have not reached it. We have not gotten there, but we have all of those. We have all of those. There's a level of inflation rate that is expected. I think they were looking at about 15%. Thereabout. So all of those things are there, and what we are trying to say is that either I call it budget, annual budget, or whatever we call it, they are not just documents on their own. They should be documents that takes us to a particular, location, a particular target. And what we are trying to say, and what we are trying to do, and what we are trying to encourage is for this document, all of us to be involved in it, and then all of us should monitor it so that we can all monitor and see how far we are going. Well, we'll see how that eventually goes. Well, we do know that the House of Representatives, as well as the entirety of the National Assembly, has, they have the distinct function of oversight to make sure that the budget goes where it goes. Because clearly, we all cannot monitor. We can only give reports based on what is in the budget, whether it is actually happening in our locality. And I'm not sure that there is a mechanism to collate all of that just yet, that report from citizens. But we'll see how that goes and how your call for everyone's involvement is heeded. We have to thank you for coming on the program this morning. Honorable Boyega Nasir Isiaka is a member of the House of Representatives representing Yewa North, Imekwafon Federal Constituency, and is also the Chairman House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development. I'm sure we'll be engaging you on Ogun State much later. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Well, we'll take a break now. When we come back, I guess we're going straight to Lagos, where from there, they are going to the Niger Delta. Ayo, it's over to you.
Some 3 decades after oil production ground to a halt in Ogoniland, it will seem the federal government is once again considering restarting drilling in the region. And what we have also found out is the traditional rulers in River State have thrown their weight behind the current pipeline surveillance structure in the Niger Delta, urging the federal government to resist calls for its decentralization. However, we also know that there are some other people who are saying, nope, we need to be at the table calling for the insisting on the decentralization, if you like. But let's have a conversation this morning on this subject matter with Alaye Tare Theophilus, who is the President, Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide. He joins us from Port Harcourt. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Help us understand what exactly the issues are as quickly as you can. On the one hand, we hear that the traditional rulers, the leaders in the environment are insisting on the status quo, but then your team seems to be calling for a decentralization. Help us understand what the issues are.
Thank you very much. There is no time that stakeholders or traditional rulers in River State or in Ogoniland have said that there should be no decentralization. every person in Ogoni land, in River State traditional rulers, the coalition of River State traditional rulers, those that are recognized by government, those that have been given the staff of office to operate their office, have always said that the status quo should not remain, but rather it should be decentralized according to state basis. And why is it called so? Everybody wants sense of belonging in terms of what happens in her environment, in terms of this oil and gas related activities. I keep on calling for decentralization. It's not because some persons are interested in other people losing their job or their contract, but it's fact the same that everybody wants participation in the oil and gas industry, and or type of marginalization by the federal government and the IOCs that have been operating in the region. And what are those things? First, right of refusal. That's if there are areas that they believe they have the manpower and the capacity to be engaged, that they should be considered first.
Well, you know,
other person.
We've heard this saying, just a second, we've also heard this saying that if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Is there a problem, in your opinion, with the current situation, or this whole conversation is just about inclusion and not necessarily because anything is wrong with the system?
Basically, nobody is saying that there is nothing wrong with the system. The process in question has been monopolized, and some stakeholders, there is cold war going on between or among stakeholders in the Niger Delta. And what
I'm asking about whether or not the current arrangement is functional, is effective, achieving the purpose that is intended. That's what I'm asking.
To a larger extent, no. Why? Because stakeholders are saying categorically that there is still oil theft, organized oil theft going on through the back door. And we also have records of oil vessels arrested that belongs to Nigerian government, Nigerian individuals in the American Sea. All those are in record. So what we are saying is that demonopolization has also given room to organize crude oil theft through the back door. And so many stakeholders who also partake in sensitizing their persons, going into full structure to make sure that illegal bunkering and every other things reduce in the Niger Delta. I'm not saying that, look, we did this for the benefit of the region and the federal government. But now that it has been monopolized, we are also noticing organized crude oil theft through the back door, and we are not comfortable. So the best thing to do is to bring all hands on deck so that everybody can checkmate the excesses of everybody. So I don't think it has really given the needed result that the federal government and the people of the Niger Delta region really expected. Because we have the capacity to produce over 2 million barrels per day. But today we are still struggling with 1.2, 1.4, 1.6. That is not the target. And Ogoni land, as we all understand, from 1995 to date, there has been no tangible exploration-related activities. And the federal government has also set up a dialogue committee to see how there can be crude oil resumption in the Ogoni land. And Ogoni land has what it takes to contribute over 800,000 barrels of crude per day to the current production rate. So the Ogoni people are concerned.
Yeah, we also understand that the House committee, responsible, said that they invited, there was an invitation to you and to your team, but you said that, that did not happen?
That never happened. We respect the National Assembly and its leadership, but what the committee did is only best known to them. Because on the 31st of last month, we submitted another petition with a peaceful protest to the National Assembly why they need to look into the allegations and the petition. And look at, this is one of the petitions we submitted on that particular day. We were expecting all our informations, our address, everything is also contained. And we were expecting the National Assembly and the Joint Committee to do justice. But they never invited any person. It was even on that the same Monday against Tuesday against the Wednesday that the sitting was expected. We heard rumors that committee is going to have meeting. And one thing you need to understand, it is not just one company that is doing the surveillance job. And when you see the flyer that was given out, it was only one company that was invited. So you will understand that it was just an arranged joint sitting that the House Joint Committee did, which to the best of our interest was not there to address the petitions that were before the House Committee. One of the petitions that were before the House Committee was that a vessel was arrested in America containing over 1.9 million barrels of Nigerian crude. And that vessel belongs to a Nigerian owner. And the vessel, the owner have said that he gave it out to some individual in Nigeria for use. And the master have also come out to say that they never cleared that vessel to carry crude from Nigeria. And CAC have also said that that particular vessel and company has not been in existence for a period of time. So we wanted the Nigerian government and the National Assembly in partnership with the American Embassy and the American government in US to investigate, and also the Nigerian government bringing out those that owns the company, the vessel, and the operator, so that we can understand those persons.
These are very, very critical issues that you are raising, particularly the way it's sounding in the interest of Nigeria. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be engaging you further on this because, as you said, the interests are high. The question is, what next? You've sent a message to the president and hopefully to the minister in charge as well. Let's hope that at the end of the day, you'll be able to hear from them and then there'll be peace in the land. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Alai Tari Theophilus is the president, Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide. We appreciate your thoughts and all the best all the time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And that's the show this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde. Business Morning is next. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for watching. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf. Here's wishing you a peaceful day ahead.